Welcome to my channel Usman Khan, the Information Planet. For the first time ever, a complete, detailed, in-depth review of iPhone 14 Pro Max review. Yes, iPhone 14 Pro Max, a complete, in-depth review. Let's start. The iPhone 14 Pro Max, clever dynamic Iceland, powerful cameras, always on display, and a super long battery life make it the best phone money can buy. Once again, Apple has made the fastest phone around with its A16 Bionic chip, but it's not really about benchmark. Instead, it's about what this chip enables. It's about what this chip enables, from the always-on display to the powerful 48 megapixel camera, what it can do. Add in extra long battery life and you have the best iPhone you can buy, as well as one of the best phones you can buy, period. If you want a smaller phone, check out our iPhone 14 Pro Max review. Yes. The starting price is $1,099, making it one of the most expensive flagship phones around. The starting storage remains 128 GB, which frankly does not feel very pro, but you can upgrade to 256 GB for $1,199. For more, when I picked up the iPhone 14 Pro Max for this review, I noticed two things immediately. The first is that the notch has been replaced by a pill-shaped cutout more than dynamic Iceland block. And the second is that the camera bump is even bigger. All three camera lenses on the back of the iPhone 14 Pro Max are larger, as is the flashes, so this area takes up a lot of room. This is also a slightly heavier and thicker phone than its predecessors. The iPhone 14 Pro Max measures 6.33 by 3.05 by 0.31 inches and weight around 8.47 ounces, compared to 6.33 by 3.07 by 0.3 inches and 8.46 ounces for the iPhone 13 Pro Max. There are four color options for the iPhone 14 Pro Max: deep purple, silver, gold, and space black. I'm partial to the deep purple as it pops the most, and that's the one I tested out for this review. I continue to appreciate the matte glass back, which is now removable, and the color matched polished steel sides Apple uses for its Pro phones. This overall look is elegant for a bit too familiar with the same IP68 water resistance. What's missing? This would be a SIM card like the headphone jack before it. Apple has removed this feature for US model, replacing it with the eSIM technology. The good news is that we found it quite easy to add a line to the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and you can have two active SIM numbers at once. Say one for your personal and one for business. The bad news is that some overseas carriers don't support your eSIM. So you all need to check if your provider is compatible before you travel overseas. If you want to keep your iPhone 14 Pro Max looking box fresh, then check out our roundup of the best iPhone 14 Pro Max cases. Now, this is innovative. Apple did not just shrink the iPhone notch and move it to down. It found a way to make this area useful and even fun. In addition to housing the true depth camera, the dynamic Iceland acts like a mini dashboard, providing access to the info you need to no matter what you are in. If you open Apple Music or Spotify, for example, and then swipe back to the home screen, you will see the album art display on the left side, and there is a mini waveform animation on the right. And if you press and hold on the dynamic Iceland, a larger window will pop up showing the track progress and playback control. Or you can press once just to launch into the app iPhone 14 Pro Max. There is a lot of other apps take advantages of dynamic Iceland. You can see the status of your timer there, the next direction to take in maps, the status of incoming and outgoing calls, and more. You can even have two live activity displays side by side in the Iceland. Apple has made a live activities API available to deliver more dynamic Iceland experience like sports scores, food delivery status, ride sharing info, and more. I cannot wait to be able to see how far away my DoorDash delivery is or Uber driver without having to constantly dive back into the app. The uses of dynamic Iceland extend to the other activities as well, as such as Face ID, and the animations are fluid without being intrusive. This is just a killer feature and flagging a good reason to get the iPhone 14 Pro Max over the regular iPhone 14 or iPhone 14 Plus. Yes. Apple is definitely playing catch up with the Android phone when it comes to the iPhone 14 Pro Max new always on display. Yet Apple implementation delivers our most robust experience if you are willing to take the time to set it up. Because the Apple iPhone 14 Pro Max display refresh rate can scale all the way down to 1 Hz. Apple designed its AOD to essentially mirror to the lock screen in color, but at a much lower brightness level, so you can still see your wallpaper lock screen widgets like weather, calendar, activity ring, and notifications coming through. Yes, exactly the same feature. There is the always on display, smart enough to turn off if you put the iPhone 14 Pro Max in your pocket or upside down on a table. I personally appreciate having the always on display for simply displaying the time without having the fully turned on the display. As my dogs usually see the sign, they can also go outside no matter the time of night. In a way, I prefer the simplicity of the Pixel 6 and Galaxy S22 Ultra with their always-on display by showing just the basics like time, battery status, and notifications. But I like there is some more customization option for the iPhone 14 Pro Max with iOS 16.2. By comparison, iPhone 13 Pro Max hit 1040 max nits in our testing and scored 109.3 and 74.4 on the sRGB and DCI P3 test. So the iPhone 14 Pro Max has a better screen all around, though its Delta E rating was that it is slightly behind the iPhone 13 Pro Max at 0.21. The Galaxy S22 Ultra reached 1359 nits with HDR content and registered 137.5 and 97.4 on the RGB and DCI P3. And its Delta E rating was 0.25. Apple has shaken things with its camera. On the iPhone 14 Pro Max, offering a 48 megapixel main with wide sensor for the first time. By default, the sensor will group every 4 pixel in a quad pixel and optimize for better light capture in 12 megapixel photos. But you can go 14 megapixel in a Pro RAW mode if you want the most details possible, which is the ideal for cropping in. The 48 megapixel also enables a new 2x zoom option that joins the 12 megapixel 3x telephone. The iPhone 14 Pro Max also features a new 12 megapixel ultra wide camera that's nearly twice the size, and 12 megapixel true depth camera now offers the autofocus along with a faster 1.9 aperture for better low light photos. In fact, better low light performance is a big theme across the board with this phone, as there is a photogenic engine powered by the A16 Bionic chip that's designed to offer brighter and more colorful photos to every camera. You can shoot 14 or 8 megapixel photo, but you have first to enable Apple Pro RAW and set the Pro RAW resolution to 48 megapixel in setting app. It will be easier to initially activate this within the camera app, but once you enable, you can toggle between RAW and normal pics in the camera app. When I shot a 48 megapixel image of a fire pit area, I could zoom in on much more without losing details. You can make more out details in the bricks and lights at the top of the circle wall. Just keep in mind that you all have to edit the images afterward for the better results. Based on my testing versus competing flagships, I did say iPhone 14 Pro is the best camera phone you can buy. Let's start with the shots of pencils. The purple and yellow pops through the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra, but there is more details in the details as the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Let's discuss iPhone 14 Pro Max specification. Screen size. iPhone 14 Pro Max has 6.7 inch screen. Refresh rate. It has 1-120 Hz refresh rate. CPU. Apple A16 Bionic. Storage. 128 GB, 256 GB, 512 GB, 1 TB. Cameras. 48 main, 12 megapixel ultra wide, 12 megapixel telephoto and with 3x optical zoom. Dust water resistant IP68 colors: purple, gold, silver, space black. Rated battery 13 hours and 39 web surfing. Size 6.33 by 3.05 by 0.31 inches. Weight 8.47 ounces. I hope you have liked this in-depth video of iPhone 14 Pro Max review. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and share this video. Thank you so much.